My name's Evan Spence, this is Chasing Cars, and thanks for joining us today as we take our first initial look at the Jac T9 ute, the Chinese-made ute, and it's the first of the type for this brand in Australia. We're looking at a sub $50,000 drive-away price with a 7-year warranty, so it's got a couple of things worth looking into. Now, we've only got this vehicle for 24 hours, so unfortunately off-road testing's out of the equation. So what we want to do today is just run you through first impressions, a couple of things we like, a couple of things we don't like about this vehicle, and just show you around to see if this sub $50,000 dual cab is worthy of your consideration, or perhaps you should stay with a more mainstream offering.
Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car.
Brought to you by
First off, some history of the brand. Now, even though they're a new entrant to the Australian market, Jac has some history when it comes to vehicle manufacturing, being founded in 1964. In 1990, their first batch export of Jac vehicles commenced, and by 2022, Jac had delivered their millionth vehicle. The T9 might be a new ute to Australia, but knowing Jac has been around a while does give me some more confidence with this new brand. Before we dive into how this vehicle performs, let's just have a look at the front and look around the vehicle to show you what makes it tick. Now, starting with this front end, in my opinion, it's a little bit Triton-esque. You can sort of see some dynamic shield inspiration, but it's a nice big grille. You've got the LED lights in here. It's very sleek looking. You've got heaps of airflow through the front end, which is good for the radiator. Nice to see. Could be a little bit impacted off-road with stones and things like that, so some frontal protection would be a good idea. And speaking of frontal protection, check these out, these faux-looking recovery points. Kind of a bit strange, I think. Would be good if it had actual recovery points, like say the Isuzu D-Max Blade, but that's a styling option they've chosen. There's a couple of things I just want to focus on in here. Now, there's a body mount at the back, which is very traditional for utes. What I like about what Jac's done is it's flat. It's like what we do in the aftermarket world, modifying these body mounts to fit bigger tyres. They've done a really good job of that. It's nice and flat, out of the way, good to see. Now, something else I'm seeing is there's a lot of similarities in the suspension design compared to another very popular ute on the market. I'm not certain, but I'm somewhat convinced that this front end is very Hilux based. I reckon you could put a Hilux strut in this and it would bolt straight in. I'd kind of do the same thing if I was building a ute. I would look at what's already on the market and how to make it better, but interesting to see. Coming down the side, you've got these metal side steps that look quite stout. They aren't rock sliders though. They aren't mounted to the chassis. They are body mounted. And as you can see, they're pretty sturdy, but they won't really take a knock off-road. So more for just getting in and out of the vehicle. We've got some roof rails, which they're a bit flimsy, but at least you've got mounting points to put a roof rack in there. You won't have to drill through, which is cool to see. And then finally, we've got this sports bar on the back, which nice and sturdy. It's got Jac embossed in the side. I'm not the biggest fan of sports bars. I don't really know what you do with it, but hey, if you like it, good for you. You've got one included. This is the top spec Jac T9, so it comes with 18-inch alloy wheels, and it's rolling on 265 60/18 highway tyres. The tyres aren't much chopped for off-roading, but they're going to get you off the showroom lot, and that's all that counts really. They're not an all-terrain, they're just a highway terrain. Now, down the back is a really cool party trick. Jac has included disc brakes on the rear of the T9, unlike most dual cab utes that come out with drum brakes. It's really cool to see that Jac has gone to the effort of developing some disc brakes for the rear of this vehicle, and so far braking performance, it's really good. Well, the Jac T9's a ute, so we might as well see what the ute tray's like. First of all, the tailgate's not damped and it's quite weighty, as you can see. They've got to save money somewhere, I suppose. Now, this has a 1,045 kilo payload capacity, so it can carry a bit of weight. As well as that, we've just been told the towing capacity has increased on the Jac. Now, it's stamped here on the tow bar that the Jac T9 can tow 3 tonne. We've since been told it's now 3.2 tonne. So I'm not sure how they're going to get around that because it's officially stamped here 3 tonne, so we'll have to revisit that. It can carry 1,045 kilos in the back, so it's very usable payload capacity. But there's not really much to talk about here. You've got a spray-on liner, which they've done a pretty rough job of on the sides. Needs some improvement there, but I do like a spray-on liner. It means no rust will happen underneath, nothing will rub through. You've got no power points. There's 4 tie downs, 1 on each corner. The sports bar, as we've mentioned, and that's about it. So this is just a rough and ready for work vehicle, or if you want to deck it out to make your own, you've got a blank canvas. Now, we have been told in the spec sheet that this will fit an Australian-sized pallet between the wheel arches, not a European spec pallet. Something to keep in mind if you're working in the trades. Now, something we've noticed while poking around, because again, we've only just got this car, we only have it for 24 hours. These big chunky nuts, they're just plastic caps, so that's just aesthetics, but look at the fit and finish on this thing. Like, I can fit my fingers underneath the sports bar here, but it's completely flush at the front of the vehicle. It's just not lined up or fitted properly. And look, I know that's a minor thing in the scheme of things, but I kind of want to see better than that. As you'd expect from a Chinese-made ute, there's a massive focus on the interior with the Jac T9. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. Appearance-wise, pretty cool. Like, it's nothing offensive. It's not basic and simple like a PovPack ute, but it's just some things that aren't done really well. A main gripe is there's no volume knob, which every motoring journalist complains about. The only way I can see you can control the volume is by this touch button. But if you hold it down to make the volume go up or down quicker, it skips your radio station, which is just quite silly. There is a slide for the volume as well, but a physical knob would just be the way to go. Another little point is there's no USB-C points, there's only a USB-A, and they are hidden, so I can't actually see them from the driver's seat. And speaking of the driver's seat, they're just flat. These are just flatter seats. There's no adjustment for leg support. I've got zero support under here. There's no lumbar support. There's definitely room for improvement when it comes to these seats in terms of adjustability and comfort overall. And they look the part with their quilting and things like that, but they're just not that comfortable. Something I do like is the volume of the stereo, and the quality of the stereo is actually really good. I like my tunes loud, and that ticks a lot of boxes. We've got a really deep cubby in here, which is cooled. No switches here, no spare switches. So if you wanted to add four-wheel drive accessories like light bars, things like that, you're going to have to look at a different solution, like an aftermarket switch panel or something like ARB Links, where you can control everything from one point. But even where do you put your UHF radio? They haven't thought about the aftermarket really. And sure, it looks the part, but there's definitely room for improvement. Now, the infotainment screen, it's quite simple. It works very well. You've got tire pressure monitoring. We can control ambient lighting with different colors and things to really make it your own. Obviously, you can control your phone. You've got Bluetooth. We've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the sort of things you'd like to see. The screen itself, no problems. It's a nice size. It is recessed into the dash, which is a great look. It doesn't feel like an afterthought. And it's mounted right next to the aircon control, so it should keep the screen cool and avoid it overheating on hot days. Now, this is a four-wheel drive, obviously, so you have your four-wheel drive controls. Very simple. Two-wheel drive high range, four-wheel drive high range, and four-wheel drive low range, just controlled by this rotary dial. You do have downhill assist and a rear selectable diff lock. Now, on their website, the wording was a bit confusing. It sort of sounded like it was an automatic diff lock that engaged when it needed to by itself, but no, there's a physical button, and personally I prefer to see that. You can turn it on when you need it, which is great. Push button start. We've got a few drive modes as well. There's Eco, Snow, Sport, and Normal. Average size glove box, and there's no space above here for storage. So it's a pretty simple layout. It looks the part, and it's definitely more premium than a PovPack mainstream ute like a Triton or a Hilux. But definitely could use a few tweaks to make this just a little bit nicer. But overall, for a first crack at making a ute, it's nice to see some positives. The all-important back seat shot. So naturally, this is in my driving position, this seat. I'm nearly 2 meters tall, 196, and you can see I just fit in legroom wise. Now, toe room, there's not much. My toes are touching the base of the front seat, but it's not too bad. I'm just clearing headroom wise, because there is quite a large hump at the back here, but it's not too bad. It's, again, the seats are flat. They don't feel very supportive. There's not much under thigh support, but it's a nice enough place for the apprentice to sit. In terms of features, we've got dual map pockets. We've got aircon as well at the back, which you could split between passengers. You've got a USB-C, a USB-A, and a 240 volt outlet, and that's rated to 150 watts. Which is pretty useful. In the middle, we have an armrest with two cup holders, and that feels pretty sturdy. But something I have noticed is these front seats wobble around a lot, which is, I don't know, not a really good indicator. We've got some LED lighting up here, which is only switchable in the middle to control both of them. And we've got grab handles. that fold in, which is excellent to see, unlike say the Hilux, which are hard mounted here and you constantly hit your head. Full points for that. Interestingly, they feel damped, but the tailgate doesn't, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Anyway, good to see. Got some trim in here, quilted faux leather on the side with stitching in there, and red piping on the side here as well. So visually, it's kind of nice. It's comfortable enough, but a few extra tweaks would make this a genuinely special place to be. Behind the back seat, we've got a fair bit of usable space, which I love to see because you can really incorporate some clever dual battery systems and things into this area. So I reckon you could fit maybe 200 amp hour slimline batteries. You've got space for your recovery gear, your umbrella, that sort of gear. So it's good to see some usable space behind the back seat in the Jac T9. Well, I know you wanted to see how the Jac T9 performs off-road, but as mentioned, we're not doing that today. So we'll focus on-road. Now, first impressions are very important with the vehicle. For an unladen ute, this does ride very firmly, which sure you'd expect to a degree. It's very firm, especially on compression. The front of the vehicle's lifting every time you hit a bump in the road, so it's definitely oversprung. The suspension to me looks like it's just been borrowed from a Toyota Hilux, and I wouldn't be surprised if a Hilux strut did fit in the front end, but that's a different story for another day. Now, performance from the 2-litre turbo diesel engine, it's kind of as you'd expect. It's quite laggy down low when you're trying to take off, but once you're moving, it's more than adequate. I'm assuming this thing will be running a significant amount of boost through the turbocharger to make that happen. So it's definitely livable. Fuel economy wise, I'm looking at about 9 litres per 100 Ks. Again, that's unladen, which is about on the money. So we're definitely not talking class leading features, but as a package in the real world, it's the first vehicle Jac has made available in Australia. And for the first crack, I have to say it is commendable. It's not great, it's not terrible, definitely worthwhile of a look, because for under 50 grand with a 7-year warranty, some of the features that this has definitely should be a consideration if you're looking for a dual cab ute. An important feature to mention is the brakes of the T9 from Jac. Now, disc brakes on the front, naturally you'd expect that, but we've got disc brakes on the rear as well, which is a very good inclusion for any ute, let alone one at this price point. Very good to see, and I wish more manufacturers would follow suit, because the braking performance of this vehicle is really good. Pedal wise, feels great, it pulls up really well. I'm very confident with the brakes in this car. Indicators on the left hand side, which is a bit strange, but I guess that makes sense for global manufacturing. Something to get used to, because this vehicle feels like it should be on the right hand side, but anyway. Now the steering, really light. There's minimal feel. I actually sort of feel disconnected from the driving experience because of the weight of the steering. It would be good if they could firm it up a little bit, because it just doesn't seem to suit the rest of the car. Now that little 2-litre turbo diesel motor is mated to an 8-speed transmission, which I think gives it an absolute advantage, because you've got more gearing options. So the motor's not working as hard to move it along. Now the motor really is noisy though, I have to admit. Even from idle, it's just a chugger of a diesel, and it's not any more refined when you plant your foot into it. So again, low range performance, not great. Mid-range acceleration is adequate. I'd love to see how this performs with a bit of a load in the back. We'll have to organise a trailer. I'd really love to compare this vehicle with other utes in the sub $50,000 price point. Something like the SsangYong Musso, for example. If we could do some back-to-back testing of those vehicles, it would really highlight any strong points and negatives among the group. So in summary, suspension's really firm, engine is very noisy, the interior has a strange smell to it as well. It's got a really chemically plasticky smell that other people have observed as well. But it's solid. It's a simple, solid vehicle. The interior looks good. Sure, the seats could use a little bit more support, and there's some bugs that need to be ironed out. But for a first crack, I think it's a pretty solid go. Well, there you go, our first impressions of the 2025 Jac T9 four-wheel drive ute. Now, I'm not going to give you a final verdict because we haven't had this thing off-road. We've only had the vehicle for such a short period of time, it wouldn't be fair to give a final verdict. What I will say, however, it rides pretty rough. The engine's pretty noisy, and the interior certainly could do with a few minor tweaks to get it absolutely spot on. In saying all that, if you're looking for a dual cab ute with a turbo diesel motor, a 7-year warranty, a pretty flash interior, a rear diff lock, at under $50,000 price, it's certainly worth consideration. It's not a bad ute, but it's not class leading. And I don't think it's trying to be class leading. It's just trying to be a simple, honest vehicle that'll get you around town and get you on holidays as well. But we want to know what you think. Do you like the looks of the Jac T9? Do you like the interior? Do you think it's going to be a viable proposition in Australia? For just under $50,000, are you going to tick the box saying, yes please, I'll take a Jac T9? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share with your friends, and we'll see you on the next adventure.